And now you have a surplus thanks to who? Your super mayor, your supervisor, Tiffany ain't here. The people supervisor. So won't you talk about my accolades and my business degree and all the other accolades that I pose here as a super? The board is hurting people. They're hurting our residents. I don't care if you don't like me, don't like somebody on this board. It does not matter. What matters is you come here and you take care of your responsibility and take care of the business here.
Tiffany Henyard's inability to take responsibility has left a trail of chaos across both Thornton and Dalton townships. Her departure is marked by disarray and unresolved issues, and now her actions have escalated to what can only be described as erratic and desperate. She's behaving like a cornered animal, reacting unpredictably under pressure. It's reminiscent of a video I once saw where a large raccoon, trapped by animal control, went into a frenzy as soon as they put the loop around its neck. Tiffany's behavior is the human equivalent of that, thrashing out wildly, leaving turmoil in her wake. In Thornton, the situation is dire. She's essentially holding the township hostage, and basic operations have ground to a halt. Residents can no longer access their equivalent of City Hall, and there's now a critical problem with insurance coverage. According to Chris Gonzalez, insurance policies in the past were never subject to a vote. They were automatically renewed because they're a basic necessity. It makes sense. Insurance is one of those non-negotiable elements of responsible governance, so why is it suddenly being left up to a vote? This has created a significant liability for the township. What happens if someone is injured on township property? Without insurance, the financial and legal repercussions could be devastating. This is not only reckless, but puts the township at risk of being uninsurable in the future. To make matters worse, reports indicate that township buses in Thornton are still being used to transport residents, even though there is no insurance coverage. This kind of negligence is unacceptable. Operating vehicles without insurance puts both the passengers and the township at incredible risk. If there were an accident, the fallout could be catastrophic. In many states, such as Maryland, being caught without insurance can result in serious consequences. Your car is impounded and you're left to walk home. For a municipality to engage in similar behavior is beyond irresponsible. The FDA has put $5 million into testing to explain to us whether the products contain anything below the alcohol level. This situation reflects a complete breakdown in leadership and accountability, failing to secure basic necessities like insurance, especially while continuing to engage in high-liability activities like transportation services, shows a disregard for both the township's residents and its future. It's a perfect storm of incompetence, negligence, and poor decision-making that leaves Thornton and its residents in a vulnerable and precarious position.
And that main building was locked. No one was answering the main phone lines, and some services that are offered there are for electric and heating for low-income homes. We spoke to Henyard spokespeople today and trustees who are calling it a ploy.
We come here for help and the doors are locked? What's going on? What do we do? What do we have to do?
Darlene Lewis was one of many Thornton Township residents who tried to get services at the main township building Wednesday, only to find it locked.
I'm broke in the dark. My apartment is electric. I can cook.
She risks losing electric services. Supervisor Henyard warned of a government shutdown the night before. So is there a government shutdown, and that is why the building is...
Well, we were advised by the attorneys to close the building. The building shouldn't be open. The risk is great.
According to Henyard's assistant Keith Price, the risk is that they didn't renew their insurance. He said it's because two trustees, Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle, boycotted the past few weeks of meetings.
They play Russian roulette with the insurance.
But Trustee Gonzalez tells NBC5 they've never voted on insurance in the past and says Henyard could have just signed off on it. But now the insurance company chose to not renew the township.
I'm thinking it's just a ploy, so we can't have a meeting. At the township building.
Gonzalez said they are open to conducting necessary township business like paying bills, setting a tax levy, and discussing new insurance, but have boycotted recent meetings, saying Henyard is trying to use them to appoint her choosing of a new trustee to fill a vacancy. They want to stall that appointment, which could be a tie-breaking vote for future business, citing scrutiny of Henyard's past spending.
If she gets somebody seated in that seat where she has another vote, we're going right back to all that.
Instead, they want voters to elect who they want as trustee instead.
To me, I wanted to go to the people.
Chris Gonzalez has confirmed that the township has never previously voted on issues like this, particularly regarding insurance. Yet now, because of Tiffany Henyard's actions, insurance coverage is not only being debated, but is entirely lapsed. Meanwhile, residents are suffering. One woman explained that she urgently needs access to township services to resolve an issue with her electricity during the harsh Chicago winter. Without electricity, she can't even cook, which is an alarming situation. It highlights just how critical these services are to the community and how damaging Tiffany's mismanagement has become. For those still supporting Tiffany, this should be a wake-up call. Her willingness to go to extreme lengths to preserve her power is blatantly obvious. She has effectively shut down township operations, leaving residents without essential services. She refuses to secure basic necessities like insurance for the township, which could lead to disastrous consequences for taxpayers. If an incident occurs before the insurance issue is resolved, the financial burden will ultimately fall on the community. Anyone who continues to stand by her because of token gestures, like a bingo night or a turkey giveaway, needs to take a hard look at the reality of the situation. Those small handouts pale in comparison to the harm she is causing. Tiffany Henyard has shown she's more than willing to throw the entire community under the bus to maintain her grip on power. This is not leadership, it's selfishness at the expense of the very people she's supposed to serve. In Thornton, she's effectively orchestrating a mini-government shutdown, blocking residents from accessing services and jeopardizing the township's stability. Over in Dalton, the situation isn't much better. A judge has finally stepped in to address her antics and put a stop to her games. The court's intervention underscores how dire things have become under her leadership. The message is clear. Tiffany's focus isn't on the well-being of the community, it's on preserving her own position. This approach is unsustainable and dangerous, leaving residents in both Thornton and Dalton to suffer the consequences of her recklessness. It's time for the community to recognize her behavior for what it is and demand better leadership before the damage becomes irreversible. A Cook County judge has permanently blocked Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard's attempts to appoint her picks for village police chief, administrator, and attorney, following her blatant disregard for the required approval of the village board. Under Judge Thaddeus Wilson's ruling, Henyard's appointed Ronnie Bird's secretary, Michael Smith, and Angela Lockett are now officially disqualified from serving in those roles. This decision is a significant rebuke of Henyard's pattern of overreach as she continues to act more like a dictator than a mayor. Let's break this down. Ronnie Bird Sr., who Henyard had appointed as police chief, was found to be unqualified to serve as a police officer under Illinois law enforcement standards. Despite this, he was parading around in uniform, impersonating not just any officer, but the police chief of Dalton. It's a jaw-dropping example of audacity and poor judgment. Burge is now permanently barred from the role, and this chapter of Dalton's mismanagement under Henyard's leadership has come to a close. Next, Michael Smith will not be allowed to serve as village administrator. Henyard's attempt to install a crony in this critical position has been decisively shut down. The same applies to Angela Lockett, her pick for village attorney. Lockett's decision to align herself with this chaos is baffling. As a qualified attorney, surely she had better opportunities than becoming embroiled in Dalton's political debacle. Her association with Henyard may end up being a stain on her professional reputation. Moreover, Lockett's tenure, and any compensation she might have expected, has likely been a waste of her time, given Henyard's notorious reputation for not paying people. Judge Wilson made it clear that Henyard cannot make unilateral appointments to these roles in the future without the advice and consent of the village board, which is how the system is supposed to work. However, Henyard seems unable to grasp the basics of governance. She appears to believe she holds unchecked power, ignoring the fact that the trustees form a co-equal branch of government. This isn't the first time Judge Wilson has intervened. Back in September, he temporarily blocked these appointments, only to allow Burge and Lockett to serve on a 30-day interim basis, a risky move given Burge's lack of qualifications. After Henyard's lawyers failed to respond to the trustees' complaints formally, the judge's ruling became permanent. As the year ends, it's clear that Henyard's grip on power is slipping. Many expect her to be out of office by the first quarter of 2025, and if an indictment follows her departure, she'll face an uphill battle without the resources for a strong legal defense. Dalton deserves better leadership, and this ruling is a step toward restoring accountability in the village.